Yeah. Hello, everyone out there. We have a special guest today on Go Figure. We're so excited. Valerie Eratelle, IFBB Pro and Olympian now, has joined us today to share her journey with us, some great advice and tips on, what's made her, one of the best athletes at the young age of 25. So, age is just a number. You can be 45, you can be 25. And Valerie, your journey started like in your teens.
Yeah, it started pretty well. First of all, thank you for having me, girls. One thing I want to say, I was actually really like excited about that podcast because I do believe that like girls need to be out there much more. Like everywhere we go, like on online, there's a lot of like guys bodybuilders, but like when it comes to like especially like figure, like there's a lot of like bikini out there too. But when it comes to figure, it's like it's so hard to like find like either like information or just like girls or that like shares a lot like a so like for like girls who like start in like figure, like I feel like it's so hard, there's not much out there, like even when there's like podcasts or like people like talks about bodybuilding, it's a lot of like guys.
Yeah.
So true.
Obviously it's fun, like it's also like it is like still really interesting and like motivating, but there's not much girls, so I was really excited about when you guys reach out.
Oh, thanks,
Aw.
Mel. That means a lot to us. And that's exactly what we have intended to do. We want to promote women in our sport by girls that are already, like myself and Rose, that are already competitors as well in the sport. And we just didn't want it to be overly produced or anything like that. But it's just bunch of figure girls, bunch of girls in fitness and bodybuilding that are chatting about their journey, sharing some wisdom and insight. And yes, it's a platform for people who, a go-to where if they want to start out with us or get some advice on where to go. And we made it like initially it was going to be just for Australia, but then we realized that this was all over the world. There were no, figure podcasts for girls worldwide at
Yeah.
this level. And so we're like, we recognized that was a real need. And Rose and I and myself about 6 months ago, we kind of go, well, maybe we should. And then I said, I don't know the first thing about running a podcast. And Rose is like, I don't
I have
know.
no idea.
A
Hate to
bill.
do it. I had no
Oh,
idea
you
what
gotta
we're
start
doing.
somewhere, right?
So, we
Gotta
have
start.
this saying, and it's a saying that we have, we just keep pressing buttons until something works. So, so we ended up just reaching out to about last December. We started reaching out to all pro figure girls, Olympians, girls on the pro circuit, judges like Sandy and Becky and Weinberg.
Yeah, love that.
Yeah, so thank you. It means a lot to both Rose and I that you recognize that. So, yeah.
But yeah, like starting, like I think like for me, well, a bit of a background. It's just like I was a gymnast when I was young. So like at the age of like 5, my mom just like got me into like gymnastics. So I did like a lot of years of like gymnastics, competitive as well. And then to a point that I got like older, I was kind of scared. Gymnastic is something you cannot push. I mean, I say that there's like fitness like hands down to them, but like um in like even like the high top level of like gymnastic, usually when they go around like 25, it's like they're like end of like time for that. Just like easily to like get injured, like so I just like stopped at some point, but that taught me a lot. It's such a cool sport to do when you're young, and it taught me like just discipline, like working hard, like schedule, like um and just being active. And then it really just like got me started like into sports. Then I did like a bunch of like, I feel like a lot of like girls or a lot of like good athletes comes back from like a background of like either like any sports or just like a bunch of like sports.
Yeah.
I did like volleyball, like a bit of like soccer for fun, like uh and then when I went to high school, I just like cross country was, we just had to do it, and it was good. I was just like always athletic. So
Yeah.
and I'm really competitive, obviously we all are. So I was always good, always like in the top three, and I had that pressure, like that I had to be top three all the time. Like people like was um expecting me to like win.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, I was giving a lot of like energy into that. So I was like I would run a lot, even in the summer I would do like a lot of like running. And then obviously there was no like any other like sports, like team sport that I want to do. Like for us, we have like college before university. So I got there and I hated school. I hated school so much. The only like
Oh,
class that I like was like sports, but it was like still like far from home, so I didn't want to get into like sport that had to like drive there every like night for like practice or anything. So I just got into the gym. It's like, I mean, super like boring story to be honest. Like a lot of people, you just start, you get a like I got a first coach and I just like needed something to like push. And just I always been competitive, so I needed something. And it was just like, oh, like you should like do that. It was still super early because for me 2015 I was, or like 14, when I got into like starting like dieting and doing stuff like that. And like brought me into like, oh, you should do a show, like a bikini show. I'm like, bikini, what is that? I was like, I had like no clue what it was. And then I looked into it. I was like, yeah, let's go. I'm ready for it. So we prepped for that. And I was like 17 at a time.
wow.
So
Oh,
yeah, I can't remember if I was like 17 or 18 at the time. I was still living at my mom and dad when I did my first show. Um,
And so was that
I,
was that bikini category?
so I was supposed to do bikini, and then like 4 weeks before the show, I was doing my posing, trying to do like bikini poses. And I was like, there's something that like it's just not working. I'm like so like broad. Like I still had like I wasn't as I am now. I was still like pretty little, but like I would never fit bikini, no matter what. Like I'm just like not built for that. So I was like, what am I doing? So we're like, he told me he's like, we're switching to figure. I'm like, are you kidding me? I My first show was like only like obviously trying to like know like bikini poses, and now like 4 weeks out from my first show I need to like learn figure posing. I'm like, oh my god. I'm like, okay, well, I was like almost like ready to give up. Like I was working in a restaurant that like I would like bake. I would do everything. I would like make the salad. I was waitress, but I was like it was such a small restaurant. I would like bake the bread. So like I had like fresh bread. So that night when he told me, I was like in my head, I was like, there's no way. Like I can't do this. So like I remember that night just like I was at work and I was like eating bread, like got like M&M, peanut M&M. I was like, I'm over this. I don't give a shit. And then the owner of the gym, he was like really like supportive of me, and like they saw a lot of like potential no matter what. So like he texted me. I don't know like how he knew. Maybe I told my coach or anything. He was texting me, was like, put the M&Ms away, like no, you're not gonna give up tonight. Go get like a cold shower, like in like for like I don't know, like but to like burn fast or whatever. Like at that time I thought like it wouldn't make a difference. And I don't know if he told me to like sleep outside to like because it was like cold. Like
wow.
that kind of old school mentality. So I get back from work, I go shower, and I'm like literally like outside in a blanket, like ready
No.
to like sleep outside. And he's texting me and like he's like, no, he's like, go back inside. I'm like,
Oh my God, you took it literally. Oh,
yeah, I was ready to do whatever. I'm like, okay, yeah, I can't give up. So I
Oh,
ended up like doing that show, like that first show, and I looked literally like a clown because the makeup artist didn't know anything about obviously like
Mm,
um she was
changing
just like,
the color to
yeah.
match.
So she
Mm.
literally matched my face to my tan, and it was like dark brown. Dark
oh.
brown.
Oh my
I was like,
God.
oh my
I
god, what have I
so
done?
sympathize with you. I had a show like that once. Same thing. I could not believe it. She completely matched my tan to my face. I still don't want to share those photos, like to this day.
That was my first show as well. We used to have a tan 17 years ago. So I started competing probably when you weren't even born. that
I
makes
was 5 maybe.
But we used to have this thing called Dream Tan, and it wasn't like Pro Tan where you spray it on and it dries and it sets. Dream Tan was an oil-based tan. And you would, if you couldn't sit on the toilets, you couldn't put your hands on the walls, it would be just this shimmery, tanned gloss of like just, it was oil-based, right? Anyway, so the makeup artist would rub the foundation and this tan together and put it all over my face. And I looked like an Oompa Loompa from the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Oh my God.
I know exactly. And so does Rose, exactly what you're talking about.
Yes, exactly.
Oh yeah. That's why it's like I'm almost like, does that show even count? I'm like, just erase those memories.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it was it was good though. Like it's yeah, it just like it taught me a lot. And then I just like took, obviously at that time my parents were not really like okay with the sports. Like just if you put yourself in the, like I understand now, like obviously at that time I didn't like understand. But you have like your like daughter that's like 17 years old, supposed to with like society, like supposed to, and now like you see like younger people like, or younger girls and guys like competing, it's more normal, but at that time it's like nobody would do that. So it's like for me to like can like remove myself, like barely like seeing friends, just like being at the gym all the time, and like obviously it's like first prep when you're so young, you're like miserable, like it's not fun. Like now we love it, like it's easier for us, even though it's like it can be hard. It's like at that time I was like miserable. So like for my parents to see that, they were like, no way. Like it was so hard to like just them saying yes to like one show. They thought it would be like a one-time thing. And then I'm like, I made a post on Facebook after, and like, I'm ready to come back better. They're like, you come back home, we need to talk. I'm like, what?
Oh wow, yeah.
Oh wow, yeah.
It's
Yeah,
a
it was-
huge, like when you said how young you were, I'm thinking, wow, that's commitment at that age, because as you said, it prevents you from being socially, I guess, as accessible to your friends, you know, like they're doing, you know, they're going out to eat, they're going out to drink, or whatever it might be, and you're in this mindset of, oh, I can't do that. I've got to focus on my gym. A big thing for your parents to get around to, like, is this good for my daughter? Is this bad for my daughter?
yeah. And like obviously like being like completely honest, it's like they're like, oh, like PD wise, like they don't know much. And like especially like now it's also like it's still like something people that like people talked about it a bit more, but like if you go back to like 2015, it's like it was like a big crime, right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's like
I'm so
they
glad.
didn't want me to be like, yeah, like getting into like, oh, like using stuff. And then like who knows, like you're so like when you're young, you're like, okay, like you don't know anything, and you just like you're gonna like say yes to anything your coach tells you. You're gonna like believe him or trust him, right? So it was something they were like really scared about too.
Yeah.
And then they came to see
I'm
my
so
first show, they saw women's bodybuilding, they're like freaking out. Then I get that, you know what I mean?
So I'm glad that you brought that up, because that's something that is taboo, and we on Go Figure speak about it quite frequently. You know, whatever someone chooses to do with their bodies, and being in this sport as well, and at, you know, an Olympia level or what have you.
Yeah.
It's not to say that you can't get there naturally, and it's not to say that you need to be extremely geared to do well in the sport as well. You know, genetics does play a big part. But, you know, in terms of yourself and your journey with, you know, like the exposure to the to another worlds of, you know, PEDs and things like that, did you find, like, you know, my understanding is you've got a great team of people around you. Have you always had the same coach since you first started? Has it been the same person, or have you transferred over?
So I actually like, so my first coach was the one that got me into like just dieting and stuff. So like where I was back in, like for me, like Quebec, when I started competing, I was like going to that gym that it was like besides like college that I would go. So like I was at that gym for like years. And like after my first show, when my parents sat me down, they were like, we want you to like change like the gym and like not like do like that like fully. You can still like train a little bit, but not as intense. Find another sport. I don't want you to see those people anymore. They were just like, I guess really scared. And then I was like, no, like that's not true that like I'm gonna not go back to that gym and see my people. So I did that first show with that coach, and then I took like 3 years off,
Right.
mainly because of like my parents. And I got to a point that like I moved with one of my friend, and then I moved then to like Montreal, which is kind of like 2 hours away from like where my parents live. Um because I just had a boyfriend at that time. So I moved with him, and then from there, like I didn't have a coach for the longest time. I was just like doing my own thing. Well, my own thing. I was just training, eating, like kind of like having fun. And then after 3 years, I was like, okay, I kind of want to prep. Um, just for there was like a transformation challenge with like Popeyes, and my ex was also like kind of wanting to compete because of me. So and he was working at Popeyes, so we're like still like training a lot, like all in that
Yeah.
kind of like oh my god, my French sometimes. Um, yeah, like just like training, like it was like in the like supplements stuff and everything. So it just worked out, and then he reached out to a coach. I ended up like going with his coach for, so I did that transformation challenges to see where my body would like how I would look now after like 3 years. And I got actually like really, I was like really petite, but I did the original with like his coach, and then end up like switching another coach from Quebec, where I was from. And I did two national with this coach in 2019. So pretty much I did 2018. I went back, I did like original after 3 years off, and then qualified to like do like national. So like 2019, I got a new coach and I did two national with him. I won both, like first place to both.
Wow.
Got like both time really close to be like to like win my pro card. I was literally like second overall, and you needed to be like first overall to like win your pro card at those shows. Um, and then in 2020 is when COVID happened. I actually ended up like moving to Ontario, like Toronto, where I am now, which is another province for me.
Yeah.
So when I was in Quebec, it was like only French, and then when I moved to like Toronto, it's like all English. I had to like fully transition. It was like fully like new people, and I actually moved here for. So I was waitress when I was in Quebec, and I moved here because like we have like an amazing gym, and I'm like
Oh,
they
you do.
just like opened the gym,
Incredible. Yeah.
the Prima. So yeah, it's like if you guys can like travel and like come see the gym at some point, it is
On
so
the
worth
bucket
it.
list, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, the
Yeah.
Canada show is one of the ones that is on my bucket list. Eventually, I'd
Really?
love to get over there and do it. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh my
Because I've always
God,
wanted to go.
come. Oh, yeah, it's such an amazing gym. And like people are like amazing here. Like they're super welcoming. So yeah, that would be fun. But like I moved here for like especially the gym because I end up meeting the owner when I did like that two national,
Mm.
and they just like saw a lot of potential, which I'm like super grateful for. And they needed like people to work at the gym. So I end up like it was like a really like big decision for me, but it was actually like a life-changing decision. I'm like I'm so happy like I did it because it brought me like where I am now. But like those people took me on, moved here, and then I like they were just starting like that supplement company like HD Muscle. So
Yeah.
like they took me as like one of their like first athletes.
Oh.
And I worked at the gym, and then I started like creating a clientele like slowly. With COVID it was a bit harder, but at the same time it can like um got me the time to like adjust and everything because it was a big switch. And yeah, just like kept growing with like those people around, and then they were really, really supportive. And then at that point there was 2020, and I did Amateur Olympia 2020 for the first time, but I did it with like a new coach. So when I moved here, like the owner is Dorian, actually. He's my coach now as well.
Yeah.
And at some point, like I was prepping with that previous coach that I was with in 2019 for my 2 national, and I was trying to prep for like 2020, and my body was just in a weird place that it wasn't like responding. So I was like, okay, I need to like couple months to like myself and like really like focus, see like what I want to do. And then during like reach out, like I didn't know him as much. Like he was around, but we didn't have the relationship we have now. But then he's someone who's like really like ready to help everyone all the time. Like you want to see, like he's like, I see you like working hard so much every day and like putting so much effort, like you're like I see you like struggling, so it's like I can help you if you want. I'm like, yeah, like why not? At this point I have nothing to lose. So like he sent me a plan, and like my body started like responding like that. So like we just like started working together, did like the 2 like Olympia amateur, and like the second time I got my pro card with him, and
I remember seeing that.
happened. Yeah.
You always have this, you have this amazing classical shape. Like, you know, like your Erin, when Erin Stern first started competing, like, you know, like that real, like full muscle bellies, real womanly shape. Like just, I just love your shape. It's just
Yes.
it's one of the first things that just stood out with me was like, oh my goodness, this woman's going to go far. And this was like way back, you know, when you were doing your first shows as
Yeah.
well. And it's absolute testament. And I've just seen it evolve and over time. And the one thing that you keep bringing each show is that little bit more condition each and every single show. You just keep edging towards it. And this last one that you did for the Olympia, and we'll get into that soon, I was like, wow, she's on. You know, like it's the best I've seen you. You've got the fullness and you have the condition as well. And that's so hard for some athletes.
So hard to get,
isn't it? It's either I'm ripped and diced, but semi-flat, or I'm full and round but still have body fat I need to lose. And I almost think like you and your coach now have just kind of like fine-tuned what needs to happen. And it's not about maybe reinventing the wheel, it's just about continuing down that path. Like, what do you think about that? Yeah.
Well, first, thank you. Like it means a lot, because for me it's like, as much as like, yeah, like I made it to Olympia, like for me I'm still like in my head, like I'm someone like confident, but sometimes in my head I'm like still such a rookie, you know what I mean? It's like same thing when I won my pro card. Like it wasn't, I wasn't that like, no, okay, I was happy, I was really proud and happy to get my pro card, but I think like for me it was just like a step. It was just like, okay, I'm like relieved now to like have like gone like to that step. I'm like, I'm sick of like national. I just want my pro card to like to the other step, because I know.
Oh God, I hear you on that. Yes, yeah. You get to a point
like
where you're like,
you're
just
like,
give me the pro card. Just give me the pro card.
Yeah.
So
like,
I was just going to
yeah,
say,
go ahead.
we're a little bit old to the table. I only got my pro card last year after 51 amateur shows. So I was never genetically blessed or gifted or anything like that. And Rose, yourself as well, like you'd been in the sport for 10 years.
It took me 5 years from when I transitioned over from my old league to IFBB.
Yeah.
So 5 years of nationals. Cool. and getting this, you know, when you were saying before that you were the second runner-up all the time. Oh my God, that happened to both Lisa and I so many times. And when you finally get over the line, it's like, oh my God, hallelujah.
Such a release. Yes, it's like at this point you're not even like, I thought I would cry, to be honest, because I'm like emotional. And I didn't even cry. It was just like, I'm like, finally, that was like my first word coming in my mouth. But I think it's so cool though, because it just shows like how, like, no matter what, like it can take like so long. If you don't give up, like you can do it. You can like 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 have anything you want if you keep like pushing. So
don't give up.
yeah, like the thing is like, it's no like oh, like if you're like meant to be pro or whatever, if you have the potential to be pro, it's not like, oh, like you should get it like really easily. It's like, no, it doesn't mean that. Like you can have your pro card really easily and never like do good on the pro league, or never get there, you know what I mean? Or you can have it like really hard until you get pro and then do very well. So like for me, like even me, like it took me, let's say like since 2019, it took me like 2-3 years. But to be honest, like at the first national that I did, and I won like first place, and then you have to wait a little bit before doing like the overall. I was like, wow, like I actually thought I would like turn pro. And then I did the other nationals, like just later that year, again, happened the same thing. And I could have gave up like so many times, even like for you guys, but it's like for me, like at that time, I was like so disappointed both times. And I was like, I'm never a sore loser. Like I'll be disappointed, and I think both time I like cried because I was like, "Fuck," and then it was pretty quick. Then I was like, "Dinner, fine, I'm good." But at the same time, when I won my pro card, I understood why I didn't like win my pro card back then, and I think there was a reason for it. Like if I would have won my pro card earlier than that, or like in 2019, I would have never been. Not that I would have get there like regardless, but it would have been the same. And like I wasn't ready to be on the pro stage no matter what in 2019.
What do
So
you,
it happens like that for a reason.
I want to touch on that as well, because we hear that a lot, you know, like people do a show, suddenly don't win, and they're like, whatever. And it was the judging, or it was the, you know, that person was a favorite, or it was political, or, you know, all that crap.
They blame something external to themselves.
Rather than take responsibility for themselves. And you just really highlighted something that was so important as an athlete, the difference between a pro athlete and an amateur athlete. And you said you weren't ready to actually be a pro. Can you go into a little bit of detail? What didn't make you ready to be a pro?
I think like, so for me, when I won my pro card, like I said, I was relieved, but I'm never the person, and again, doesn't come from like, not that I'm not confident, but for me, it's always about like proving what I earn, right? So it's like when I won my pro card, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm happy I'm a pro, but now I have to prove that I'm like worth standing besides those girls and do well. Then I did my first pro show like 6 weeks, 7 weeks after, and I got like I think second call out at the Toronto Pro, and there was 3 call outs. So like I was like, okay, like it's fine. Like I wasn't expecting. I was just going there to see where I would stand.
Yeah.
And then I did the Toronto in June the next year, and I got third. So I was like, okay, like I just need to prove. And again, when I won Vancouver, it's funny because yeah, as much as like it's a good, like it's a big achievement. Like I won my first pro show in the first year as a pro, and I qualified to Olympia, but in my head, and like it can be wrong, and I like some people told me like be how they said that, like you weren't that, like you earned that. But like for me it was like I feel like always like it's it can be bad, like it's something I need to work on, being more like confident.
Critical of
Yeah,
yeah,
because I was like, okay, yes, I won Vancouver, but it wasn't a hard show, or like, oh, like it was a Canadian show, oh, like, but it's like, okay, like I need to take some credit a bit for like what I
It sounds like you kind of always like going to the next level. Like you're always focused on that next. You've got a very similar mindset to me. I'm exactly the same as that. I'm hearing what you're saying, because it doesn't matter that once I became a pro, I was like, okay, well that's great, but now I actually have to get up on stage with these girls and actually hang with them. You know, I've got to be at their level, and then there's the self-doubt that underpins that. And you know, and I've got I'm actually making my debut this year in October, so I'm battling with that mindset right now.
That is exciting. Yeah. No, I know what you mean. It's like you get
Yeah.
something, it's like, yeah, you're proud. Like, don't get me wrong, like I'm proud and like you're happy for like what you did, but like I feel like it's as like athletes, we always want more. So like we're like so quick to be like, okay, next step, I need to like focus on that. So for me, winning Vancouver was the same thing. It's like, okay, now I gotta prove myself to Olympia and get much more better because fuck, those girls are big. Like they're like something, you know what I mean?
Something else. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, but you're that something else now too, like
Yeah.
at that level. And what I love about you is you have this mindset of don't think you're good or you'll never be great,
mhm.
Yes.
and
Yes,
so
you just nailed it.
yeah, I think in a nutshell, and
Yeah.
in your eyes, you have a picture and an image, A, of what you want to look like, but B, what you want that environment to look like. I want to be stacked up against the best girls in the world. And not only that, and being the first call out or win the show or place in the top 5. That's my key performance indicators. That's how I measure the level that I'm at. And yes, I'm, on that journey, I'm on that trajectory, but you have that vision and you have that image in your eyes, and I actually love that because it keeps her humble. This is why Australians love you, because you are confident, but you're grounded and you're humble. And yes, we all are critical of ourselves to some extent, but this is what's going to give you such a long career in this sport, and now even you're inspiring women all over the world to start their journey as well, to the stage, irrespective of how long it takes them, because some people just don't want to be a pro. Some people just want to get on stage and be in the best shape of their life and do something for themselves and their confidence. Whereas with you have a big picture. So you have a big picture here. So share with us what the epitome of your vision is.
So it's funny because I feel like I've never been like I have big dreams, but at the same time I'm someone that's really I guess like realistic with like the present. So like I'm someone like really like living in the present, kind of like one step at a time.
Yeah.
And I'm like with that with everything in my life. If someone asks me like what do you want like next year, like, or like what's your goal for like in the next 5 years, I'm like I don't fucking know. Like so like I'm just like I'm living like one thing at a time. Like there's so many things that can happen in like 5 years. Like yeah, I have like don't get me wrong, like goals and like where like idea of like what I want or like where I want to be, like, but I'm like really like one thing at a time. So for me it was never like, okay, one day I'll be like Mrs. Olympia. And like it's funny to like say that because a part of me is like, is it wrong to say that? Because
Yeah, I get it. I understand
it
it.
is, yeah, like if I rephrase it, it's like I felt like I always felt like it was wrong to like say that because if it sounded like I'm not like believing in myself or not, or like dreaming big enough. But at the same time, it's like if I'm realistic, I'm like I've never really been, and I'm okay to sit now. Like I've never been like, yeah, I'll be Mrs. Olympia. Why? Because I actually like never at first, like it's hard sometimes when you start or like even before you're pro that like thinking that you can actually get there. And like even for me, like getting to the actual just stepping on the Olympia stage so early in like in my like journey, I'm actually like shocked. I'm still shocked to be honest.
Yeah.
But then I'm like I still have to like prove myself that I can get there again, you know what I mean? And I know I will. So I think like leading up, it was just like step by step, like, oh, like I did my national, like I won first. Okay, yeah, I can be a pro. Then I was a pro and I did like my first pro show, even though I got second cal. I'm like, I still like, you can stand beside those girls. I'm like, okay, like, so every step gave me the confidence of like dreaming a bit more and like getting that step more. So now that I got to like the Olympia, um, I was proud, but like I know I can be so much better. So I think the next step for me is just like getting, well, first better placement, at least if I like go back this year. And then obviously like in the term of like 2-3 years, I do want to like stand in like that top 10.
You'll be
But
there.
Yeah, for me, it's always like getting that confidence of like, okay, I'm ready for the next step.
Yeah, I absolutely, and Rose and I both see it. We're like,
Yes.
you're definitely going to be up there. You know, probably sooner than what you actually think. You know, because there's something that you have, and you know, you've got this humility about yourself where it's like you said, you're just focusing on that next step, that next step, that next step. You know, you're not getting, yes, you know, we all one day would like to be, well, how far can we push ourselves? What is our true potential? And you, I can see that you still have hope, you know, not hope, but you have that confidence and you have that belief. And it's not vanity, it's not being up yourself, it's not saying that. You know, I always say, set big, hairy goals that scare you, and then act locally, like come back and act, you know, in the moment and saying, this is where I am right now. I am average, I'm okay, or I'm really shit, and I just got to get to be average. And then from average, I just got to get to be okay, and then good, and then better, and then, you know, in different stages. So I really love that about you, because I think in today's society, we are living in a world where people want things yesterday. They want things instantly. They want results instantly. You know, we're in a world of convenience where everything is at our fingertips. And then by doing that, we forget about enjoying the journey. We forget about the friends we make, the travel, the wisdom, like everything that we learn about ourselves in that process, don't we, Val? Like, you know, as well, Rose. Like every show is different. You learn something new about yourself. You're like, oh wow, I did that, or my mindset changed in that show, and it went from here to here, and that I had that breakthrough. And so your message is really powerful, because there are a lot of young ladies starting out that were your age, you know.
Yeah, and I'm sure many young ladies that have that self-doubt that you've talked about, and I know that, you know, there is a lot of I guess talk in the bodybuilding scene, and it's like, you've got to have a killer attitude, and you've got to believe in yourself, and you've got to do this.
And you're going to be a savage, you know, and go for it. Yeah.
And you're a killer, and all of this. It's why it's so important to have these types of conversations with women, because we don't necessarily go into this sport with that, like, masculine mindset. We've got a different approach, a lot of us women.
Guy ego thing that girls are trying to put out there.
I don't have the ego thing either, and I think, you know, sometimes I hear that, you know, you've got to have this mindset of kill, kill, kill. And I'm like, that's not my mindset. Is that a bad thing? So I think it's really great to have talked to you today, because you've described that you've kind of got this mindset of like, I'm not quite where I want to be yet. I'm happy that I got my pro card, but I've got another level that I'm going to attain. And then it's the next level. Once I got to the Olympia, then it's the next level. So I love your mindset. I think it's a great mindset to have.
I think that for me, like keeping it like short, like not shorter, but like, like kind of like, step by step, it like allowed me to like be more focused on like what's in front than just being like, because when you put like, okay, let's say like, I would be like right now, okay, my goal is to like put everything to like be like Mrs. Olympia. I'm like, oh, okay. Like it actually discouraged me, because I'm like, that seems so hard and so far away. I'm like, how much work and like things I have to learn and step to get there. And then I would rather just like go like one thing at a time and focus on that. It keeps me like much more like focused. But I think that's like one big thing, right? Why like on social media, I'm like so open and like post a lot. And like sometimes I post things, I'm like, should I like post as much, or like even like food thing stuff? I'm like, no, I know, but like I'm just like, man, are people gonna think like I'm like so focused about food or like things like that? But then I'm like, for me, it's so important to like post and like because like I said, there's not many girls who like are as open as I am, especially like figure like in our like especially for girls. And then for me, it's like so important, because I feel like people think and like that the only way to like be successful or like do well in the sport is to be like you said, like, oh, I need to be like so like 100% all the time. I need to be like how did you say that, like
Yeah, like only focused
like
on
hardcore.
that. That's your whole goal.
Yeah, like I'm not going into a leg day like listening to like Metallica and like biting my shirt and like, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, like I'm pushing hard, but like, and I'm training hard, but I'm also not like, okay, like dry chicken, like no sauce, like eating with my like in my, it's like I'm like, I love my like spices, I love my sauce. Obviously in prep and stuff, there's like difference, right? But like,
yeah, Val, I've always seen you post your food. I'm like, this girl eats. Like she eats.
Yes.
She doesn't.
Like,
It's bodybuilding, not body starving, right? Like this girl knows how to eat. She's got a good coach, you know, and yourself, and you've obviously got that really good relationship where you go as well. You're like, well, I'm not going to starve myself, so I want my off season to be good, and you know, and eat all this and have this variety and flexibility because it's going to keep me on track.
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
I love your posting. I think I would love to see more of that in the sport. I agree with you that I think a lot of figure girls worry about what backlash they're going to get. You know, oh, you train like that. Why do you train like that? Why do you eat that? Why do you do this? Oh, I don't do that. I do this. But I think it's really important that we do share what we do, because every single figure competitor is going to be different. There's going to be a different training technique, a different protocol around nutrition. So we don't all have to be the same, but we can learn from one another.
Exactly.
That's what I love about your Instagram. I think it's very educational as well. And I think you're doing a great job.
And there was some, I want to highlight, Rose, there was something that you brought up about, I think you were about 4 weeks out of the show, and you did like a live discussion. You were talking about pets. You were talking about, well, yeah, you know what, this is what, you know, we're in this sport, and I choose to go down this journey, and you know, I do that because that's my choice, and it doesn't mean that I'm going to be a man or what have you, or what have you. If you're like, some advice that you can give to women that are at that crossroads, right? And they, you know, like for myself, I'm an assisted athlete, you know, I'm not natural. Rose, on the other hand, is natural. So, you know, and she won her card as, you know, as a natural, right? AKA genetic freak, but putting that
about that.
Like amazing.
Hang on, can you just say that again? I'm just going to record that and just.
Genetic freak. Whereas me, I'm not a genetic freak. I've got short clavicles, not long clavicles. It took me 51 shows. I was natural until 2019, you know, and, you know, then they look at you and they, you know, people start to go, oh, you know, in order to look like you, I've got to be on the roids, or I've got to take a lot of stuff. And people don't understand that there's a lot involved there. You know, it's not just us going in and going, you know, or, you know, and jabbing at us all the time, is it? It's like, you know, there's blood work that needs to be done. We need to correct imbalances if you're higher or lower. You know, it's not just bro science. So for yourself, if people are at that crossroads, what's a way, or what's an advice? Let's say they go down that, you know, the path of being an assisted athlete. What's some advice that you can give them around how to start that journey? Because it's, for them, it might be something that they might feel a bit ashamed about, or not know who to go to, or like, how would you start that conversation with someone?
Like, first of all, it's like when it comes to like obviously PEDs and everything, it's like you need, and we don't say it like enough, it's like we need to like find a coach that you can fully trust. And trust is like obviously one of the hardest thing. You can maybe like be with a coach that you think you trust, and
yeah,
you end up like, I don't know, down the road, like, fuck, he screwed me over. I thought I could trust him. So first, like, really like do your research on like who you can trust, but also like if you have a coach you think you can trust, maybe take like what he tells you and go to like couple different people in the industry. Don't ask anyone online. That's the wrong way to go. Not on
don't
Q&A.
Dr. Google.
Yeah, not
like,
Dr. Google.
yeah, and even like people, like girls that think that can trust me, comes to me, it's like, I appreciate you coming to me, but I'm not gonna say anything. Like, it's not my place. I have a coach for that. But so go to like different people that like her, like that's their specialty. Like, you know what I mean? It's like if you
Yes,
have to
yeah,
pay for it, it is worth it.
yeah.
But yeah,
Like
like
that would
advice to
be
like,
in Australia, that would be like a functional medicine doctor, an endocrinologist,
yeah,
like a sports medicine doctor,
Even a really, really well-established coach who has had many healthy athletes behind them. You want to be looking at how long have these coaches had their athletes that are doing well?
yeah.
Are those athletes still with that coach and are they healthy? That's kind of a good yardstick too. Would you
Yeah.
agree?
Yeah, or like if let's say you're like a figure girl and like there's other like figure girls you look up to, and like I don't know if you're looking for a coach too, like if it's in that path,
Yeah.
like ask questions to like their athletes and stuff, like oh like, or like yeah, just read your research, or like if let's say like you have a boyfriend or something, and then well ask a couple people that you know like close to you that you can trust that would never like always put your health first. But
So do
then
research and put your health first.
yeah,
Mm.
then make sure to do like your blood work, because at the end of the day, like as long as like you think that you're super healthy and like that, like like the dosage that you have are not enough to like, you never know, you just never know. And like the thing is like you can come back with like a bad blood work that like, and then what if you never look at that and started something? So
Mm.
like those things are like, they're like tedious thing, there's not fun to do, but like they are so important. And if something comes back wrong, it's like, don't think like, oh shoot, like that's because of PDs, that's because, it's like no, maybe you had it before, you never knew. And some people, like people who drinks, people like they just don't do blood work,
Ask
you know
themselves.
what I
Yeah.
mean?
That's
So that's
right.
why it's like for
Yes.
us it's just like we take our health more seriously, that like we go to those things, but like probably a lot of people also have liver problem or other things that like wrong with their health, they just don't know because they don't care, they drink, or they, you know what I mean?
So true.
But I think the other thing is just like, yeah, just really being like cautious, and like cautious and like trying to like see the sign, like start like really like, I mean, whatever like is your protocol, just like really be kind of like in tune with your body,
Mm.
and don't be scared to like speak up. Like if you have a coach and you start something and then it doesn't feel right, speak up. You know what I mean? It's
Doesn't
like
look
it's
right.
your body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
And
But
would
like, for me, there's nothing wrong with PDs. Like at the end of the day, it's like even if girls think that like, oh, like they feel shame, it's like there's nothing wrong. It's part of it. It's in a lot of sports. If that's something, if you want to go like far, and like that's the goal of yours, there's yeah, there's nothing wrong to me. But it doesn't mean like you don't have to work as hard. You're gonna have to
oh,
put
so
as
true.
much work. It doesn't like take any credit of your work.
No.
I think that's a really good point, actually, Val, because I think what I've seen sometimes is that people will be really strong athlete. You know, you'll be looking at them coming up through the ranks, and you'll be thinking, "Wow, this girl's really got some potential here." Then they do go down the ped path, and I wonder sometimes if their training suffers because of it, because they're thinking, oh, I've got this new thing that I'm doing, this new protocol, I don't need to train as hard now. And I think that's why sometimes you might see some regression there almost in some athletes, whereas others go forward, like like Lisa, like yourself. But I think there is a mindset of, oh, well, I'm doing this now, so I don't need to work as hard or stick to my diet as much.
That's
That's just,
one. Yeah.
that's a complete fabrication. You've got to do all those things as well or better than you have ever done them before. You can't just stop.
No, exactly. It's like they're almost like they're almost like a add up. So like you actually want to do it even better to like, it's like why would I use other things to get me better and do less work? I actually want to like make sure that those like get me like 10 times better, you know what I mean? So I'll
Yeah.
put in the work even more.
Yeah. it's like it's enhancement, it's not replacement, you know.
Exactly.
Yes.
You know, I just want to thank you, Val, for sharing that with us, and I also want to thank you for the time that you've given us as well. We know we had the time slightly wrong today, but we did make it happen, and you know, we know that it's your bedtime and it's my therapy time, and we've got Rose got work time now as well, but we would love to get you back on as well.
Would love to.
Of course. Yeah, I would love that anytime.
And you know, and once again, you know, thank you so much for your time, your wisdom, your insight, just your authenticity as well. It's something that us Australians really resonate with, and I know the girls are going to absolutely love this when they see you. We could sit here and listen to your accent all day. It's amazing.
And honestly, just thank you for agreeing to come on, but also for what you're doing on your social media account. I think that you're amazing, and you're actually helping to educate. You're helping to, I guess, you know, bring help the sport be more out there to you. So you're really giving back to
Yeah, I think that's my biggest thing. I really want, and like I think that like I was obviously like figure out taking off of like the Arnold, and like I'm like, why? Like I'm like so many questions, right? I'm like, so for me, it's like, yeah, way to like just the fact that like I have so much support and like so many people looking up to me already like so early in my career, it literally means the world to me. So like that means a lot to just know that like girls are excited to like get me, like have me on, and like every time I can like share more, and like I'm trying to like put as much as out there and like educate, like it just that, and like just yeah, like giving more like awareness to like figure and like this like the sport, like just like in general, like it,
you know, just keep being you, Val.
Yeah.
The way that you are, the way that you present yourself, which is unfiltered, you know, on Instagram, it's raw. You're not wearing makeup or anything like that. If it is, we can see it. You know, you're not hiding. No. You know, you're not hiding your flaws or anything like that, and you're comfortable showing an off-season physique as well, which I think is really good for the body image of women and competitors, because sometimes all we see is women that are in shape all the time. And you know, like, you know, before we go, you know, I'm someone that stays quite conditioned all year round, but that's just my genetics, you know, putting size.
It's not me.
No, well, for me, like,
it's not the majority. You know, you're a genetic freak.
Well, I'm a condition freak, right? But when it comes to size, oh my God, it's taken me 25 years to build this physique, not overnight, because I was like that, you know, just straight up and down, 42 kilos, and now I'm 60 kilos, so that's about 125, 26 pounds. So, but that's like less than half a kilo a year, you know, like.
But that's the thing people forget. Takes time, not weeks, not months, years. And like everyone's different, right? So it's like, okay, yeah, I can be like, oh, like always get like a bit out of shape of season. That's why I also love to share it, because I still struggle. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I fucked up many times, even this off season already. And I'm like, would I've wanted to like stay leaner? Yeah, but it's just not me. It's hard for me to stay conditioned. When I'm on, I'm on, but everyone is different. So like, even for me, or like girls who like, they can be looking at girls who like are like lean all year round, but they have a hard time putting on muscle. Although like it's easy for me to build muscle, I may not be like fit all year round though. You know what I mean? But everyone's different. So we need to like remember.
Yes.
So, you know, and I'm so grateful for that as well, because there's so many, especially when you're starting out in the sport, you don't have that maturity. You don't have that, you know, your body, as you compete every year, even if it's a little bit, either stays the same or gets a little bit leaner, the more you know, you're putting on more muscle as you go.
And when you're younger too, like your skin, like for me, I knew that was a big struggle. And obviously it's like, there's no like you can always get like lean, but as you get older, it's easier to get leaner. You're your skin is like thinner. Like when you're like 20, like 1 years old, 22, like our skin is so like much thicker. So it's
Yes,
like
that's
baby
true.
skin, right?
That's why
So
we're excited, I think, even more for you, because it's like she is so young. Imagine, she looks this good now. Imagine muscle maturity and all that sort of stuff coming through,
Yeah, yeah.
we're waiting for it.
We can't wait to see your journey this year to, the shows that you're going to choose to do, and to the Olympia. We've got that. We're rooting for you there. Without getting too excited, but I can see it. I can see it. So we'll chat with you just before we end the podcast. But thank you again so much for coming on. Can't wait to have you back. And yes, here's to an exciting comp prep this year for you.
Yes, not yet, but I'll start prepping in the summer probably for like later show. Once we make like a game plan. Just needed some more time to chill, put on some muscle.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much for having me on. I'm so happy. I can't wait to be back.
Awesome. Sounds great. Thanks, Val.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.